Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Nice for this, the PPRS Summit 2018. Mesdames et messieurs, bienvenue donc à Nice. Señores y señoras, bienvenidos a todos aquí en Francia. My name is Alex Taylor. I'm a European journalist, and it's my pleasure to be your host for the next 3 days. I'm sure, as you've just seen from the film, this is an extremely exciting time to be talking about roads in general and their role in this changing world we live in. So I'm sure that, like me, you're looking forward to some very interesting debates. You have come from all around the world. We have everything will be translated into French. Vous avez la traduction en français. Everything's translated into Spanish. If you need the translation, feel free to use your headsets. You have come, ladies and gentlemen, from all around the world to be with us here in Nice today, but also we are being watched by people all around the world on our streaming, and so because they're all sitting in their offices, maybe feeling a bit lonely, perhaps we could applaud them. Hello, if you're watching us on the streaming here from Nice, a round of applause. Thank you very much indeed. It's my pleasure to invite onto the stage, if he has any voice left. He had a bit of a cold yesterday, but I think he's got a much more of a voice today. Jacques Tavernier, who would like to say a few words of welcome to you. Jacques, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Buenos días, bonjour à tous. I am happy to welcome you to Nice for this second Pavement Preservation and Recycling Summit. I welcome you on behalf of the organizers, European Road Federation, International Bitumen Emulsion Federation, PIARC, the World Road Association, Route de France, the French Road Industry Union, and IDRIM, the French Institute for Road and Mobility Infrastructures. I welcome you also on behalf of all our numerous partners and sponsors who supported us to give you the best one and the up-to-date state of the art. The PPRS is the big event of the year for the road community, with more 900 attendees coming from more 50 countries. An event dedicated to maintenance and modernization of roads and streets. Roads and streets are at the heart of mobility, at the heart of economic and social development. Everywhere in the world, they support more than 80% of people moves or goods transport. They are the first social network. The roads and street network is a public asset, a hugely valuable asset, corresponding almost to 1 year GDP in the developed countries. It is the responsibility of states and local authorities to preserve it. As the jingle says, and as you know, the world is changing. The mobility is changing with new technologies, new services, new uses, new vehicles. The road has also to change and to fit with these new ones. It's another political responsibility to anticipate and to adapt the road to the future. The first PPRS in Paris in 2015 was a big success and confirmed the growing awareness of the risks of poor or bad maintenance. Our objective today in Nice is to try to answer two questions. How can we improve roads and streets maintenance? And how can we modernize them and adapt them to the tomorrow's mobility. To help us answering the questions, the program committee, chaired by Jean-François Cortet, worked a lot to offer you a nice and consistent program. Over 100 speakers in 3 plenary sessions. The first one this morning on the topic road maintenance, a political issue. The second one tomorrow at 11:30. How can we better communicate on road asset management? And the closing session, Wednesday at noon, the road, an answer to the tomorrow's mobility. 15 parallel sessions on financial, legal, contractual, technical point of view. And during the 3 days, the exhibition with more 60 companies and institutions and the 5 Agora sessions during the breaks will provide opportunities to learn about innovative solutions proposed by the road industry. On Wednesday afternoon, technical visits organized by the Nice Metropole and the motorway company Escota will demonstrate how mobility is managed locally. 3 days of work and debates, but also 3 days of exchange and conviviality. I would like to thank Madame Elisabeth Borne, the French Ministry of Transport, for this great support. Unfortunately, she cannot attend the Congress today due to a very busy schedule. She apologizes to you, and she will be represented by François Poupard, General Director of Infrastructure, Transport and Sea. I would like to thank also Mr. Christian Estrosi, the Chairman of Nice Metropole, for welcoming us in his city. And I would like also to thank all the speakers for hard working and bringing us their expertise. And I greet specifically the speakers of the opening session present in the room. I would like also to thank you all for coming to Nice and sharing your experience, your commitment, and your enthusiasm with us. The program is rich and diverse. Road maintenance is crucial for the citizens. Road modernization is essential for all countries. I am sure the debates will be exciting and we will find a lot of ideas, experiences, and innovation to enhance your own practices. I wish this international forum will inspire the road community on the actions and tools to be implemented for a safe, sustainable, and intelligent road with long-term financing. I wish you a great Congress and a very nice stay in Nice. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. I'm sure somebody was going to make the joke about nice stay in Nice, but you've done it right at the beginning. Thank you for that. Welcome, Jacques Tavernier. Nous allons passer en français maintenant parce que...
Switch to English now because I will now call the President of the Department of France, Mr. Frédéric Beauchef. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to apologize Mr. Busseron. He asked me to represent him today for this Pprs Congress in Nice. For me, it is an honor to make the voice of the departments heard. It's the opportunity to debate together about road maintenance. The departmental institutions focus is very much important on that. We further to different trends of devolution. We have made huge investments to modernize these infrastructures and to adapt them to a growing demand and to adapt them to a high-quality service for all citizens. For 10 years now, however, expenditure related to road have decreased because the departments have less revenue. They have a specific feature is that they have most of the social expenditure, which are generally increasing in a context whereby the state has decided to decrease allowances to departments. We find ourselves in this paradoxical situation whereby we have to make sure that social transfers are made and reduce our revenue, which for our communities forces us to make painful choices. It is, however, our duty to preserve our assets, our public assets, as Mr. Chairman has recalled it. The road network is an important asset, and we have to maintain it for each and every citizen. I would like to remind you a few figures to try to be more eloquent on that point. The road network accounts for more than 1 million kilometers of roads, 3,600 kilometers of unfranchised roads, 8.9 thousand kilometers of state roads, and for the departments, 377,000 kilometers of departmental roads. In the framework of road devolution, we have taken on more and more in responsibility, more than 55,000 kilometers in 72 and 18,000 in 2004. Since that date, in 2004, we have taken on also the state staff. More than 30,000 state agents are now part of our staff. Since 2016, there has been also a transfer of road network to the large cities. This hasn't been completed yet. It's not quantified. In our country, we have around 700 kilometers of city roads. Road is by far the most important one for mobility in France. We have more than 80% of transport of people and goods. This is done by the road. This is a strong cultural role that is allocated to roads. We often have it in very popular songs. It has a strong social role as well. It's a topic that we talk about, that we discuss often in our homes or at the office. This is an important and major political issue for the security of our citizens, for the social development of our territory. I've often said it, we have less allowances from the state, 30% of decrease since 2008. 4.5 billions of euros of expenditure were made, and 3.3 in 2014 and 2.9 in 2015 if we take into account Lyon. So we have less revenue, less expenditure, but we want to have stable budgets. From 1.4 billion we went to 1.3 billion in 2015. And this is how we manage to have the maintenance of departmental networks. But we have a crisis, especially because we do not have the heavy vehicles tax, because they are the one damaging the departments. This was a big crash of our public financing. There was a lot of money wasted And this had a huge impact on our communities. This also has a collateral effect on communes and cities, because the departments would finance a large number of projects. However, in this context, the global quality of departmental road infrastructures is not challenged. Departments, after devolution, have invested a lot for many years so as to update the departmental road network in the wake of the national departmental network. Because we didn't know it very well at first. This regarded new constructions. The department adapts the maintenance policy. There's a hierarchy and prioritization, may it be in terms of pebbles or asphalts. It's important to check also the quantity and the types of vehicle that drive those roads. There's a lot of works that are made with their own staffs as well, staff members. And the service provisions price has actually been reduced. We see it with the oil reduction, even it's back on again. And we also see that the companies try to reduce their costs. Lack of road maintenance implies huge costs in the long run. This is what we call the grey debt. When works are done, which are not done on time, we have an over debt, an over investment to make in the end. Departments are very much concerned with road safety. That depends on the state of infrastructures and signage. However, the study of accidents shows that this is mainly due to the drivers themselves. We need to make infrastructure safer indeed, to have repairs, to also do some winter maintenance, to do some public awareness raising campaign with officers, schools, authorities. We also have a role to play in a country like France, which is land planning. We have territory developers who finance and fund road projects, who work with intercity authorities. And since they have their own staff, they can give support for such projects, may it be at the local or the departmental level. Not each and everyone is actually living close to a highway. I'm the mayor of a city with 5,500 inhabitants. There's no train, there's no highway. And when we move, when we want to have economic development, we need to have a better road network. If we want to support the economic development of each sector, and if we also want to drive employment increase, of course, we know it, we do need to have road network. We need to have more projects, and these projects need to be completed more quickly. What are the issues at stake for the future? The ADF has signed with the departments of France and the IDRIM and AGCF a national charter to draft a national observatory of roads to develop our knowledge on roads. The aim is to have a better knowledge at the national level and to have criteria that would assess the quality of roads on a consistent manner, and to develop best practices and to find a correlation between the state of the roads and the maintenance. With IDRIM and the committee, the COMOAR as we call it, and CEREMA as well, we develop new techniques to have a cost-saving road maintenance. I'm sorry for all these acronyms. We also need to use new technologies, which can be very useful to use in real time and to see how come some engineering structures can be damaged throughout time by vehicles. We can use new technologies to check that and to have, for example, driver-free vehicles. We have engineering structures, but we need to make them secure. We need to have new technologies to improve them, and we need to work with the local authorities. Of course, innovation doesn't arise on its own. We need to share experiences. We need to share good practices. This is why we have this Nice Congress. Departments have acquired real knowledge, and you are the road professionals. You are the best contact people. The state on its own side should give us the means so that we together we can work hand in hand, because local authorities in terms of standardizations, in terms of funding, we depend on the state. We need to have the means to exercise and fulfill our missions that have been transferred over to us throughout time, and this is the positive aspect, so that together we can access the roads of the future, so that we can connect one another for the future and to develop territories, but also in a safer way. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, Frédéric Beauchef.
Thanks a lot, Frédéric Beauchef, for this overview of the issues for our meeting. Christian Estrosi was taken, and he's sorry about that, but Mr. Nègre, you are the mayor of Cagnes-sur-Mer and a delegate for transport and representative for the French metropolis. Do you put all these titles on your card? Well, thank you to have us in your region, and I'll leave you the floor. Thanks a lot, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. I now represent Christian Estrosi, and I'm the delegate president from the Nice-Côte d'Azur metropolis. We are very happy to welcome this Pprs Congress, which is about maintenance and preservation of the road assets. After the great success of the First World Summit, which was held in Paris in February 2015, the theme of this one is the maintenance and modernization of infrastructures, so that the potential and the use which are growing might be improved. We have people from more than 30 countries and many interesting guests. I'd like to thank Mr. François Poupard, who represents the Ministry of Transports. Jacques Tavernier, the president of this Congress, and our colleague Frédéric Beauchef, vice president of the Departmental Council of the Sarthe, representing Dominique Boussereau, Mr. President Claude Van Houten of the World Road Association, the General Secretary of the International Federation of Korean Transport, Mr. American representative of state transport, Mr. Philippe Duron, the president of TDA and of infrastructures. Maintenance of our network might seem to be a purely technical subject, but it is not the case. In fact, the road networks, the cycling roads, the transport highways are at the core of our daily preoccupation because they have a direct impact on our citizens and the development of our territories. Indeed, the road assets are at stake in a number of fields. First, to develop the local economy. If we have maintained roads, investments are attracted and economic growth can be met. It is the key to a development of our territories. It is also a means to guarantee mobility, social life, integration, but also innovation. The Nice-Côte d'Azur metropolis is fully conscious of these questions. And since 2012, it has ensured the management of a road asset of more than 80,000 kilometers from the coastline, which is very dense, to the highest mountains, culminating at 2,800 meters high. Now, from snowfalls to storms, the roads are impacted by many natural disasters, but they are also a linking factor so that we can have access to our villages, beaches, or ski resorts, be it by road, by car, bus, or bikes. So, as soon as 2011, under the momentum of Christian Estrosi, we started the first French metropolis taking care of the overall road network so as to answer the questions raised by this network. And we set out a specific working, which is today the only one in France. We focus on 4 different points. As soon as 2012, we structured our services so as to optimize our interventions, so that we mutualize skills and human and material means those of the state, the municipalities, and the departments. The idea was to manage the overall road network except the A8 highway, which is franchised, so that our engineering capacity became optimized and we managed to face weather conditions, and our organization proved very efficient so that the road users noticed a better quality of service because the only interlocutor is the Nice-Côte d'Azur metropolis. Point number 2, we must keep on focusing on the roads, and we committed on a plan whose ambition is to make sure that safety will be met for everyone and that the road assets will be maintained. So we have an exploitation of the road, we have regulations, investments are made so as to identify what are the crucial geographic aspects, and then we have a policy of road maintenance. We will manage to develop our territories and meet objectives in terms of sustainable development, innovation, and sustainability. Number 3, we want to focus upon innovation. Again, the metropolis wishes to innovate and create a multimodal center for moves, which will answer questions about mobilities and environment, but its main goal will be to develop a network of connected objects so as to have a better knowledge of the road networks in the metropolis. To innovate is also to find new techniques or works so as to work upon the roads and make sure we are performing and efficient. we must also answer adequately to unexpected events. Unfortunately, the metropolis showed great reaction after the terrorist attacks on July the 14th, so as to secure the most touristic parts of our territories. Some of you might go on site during the Congress and see what was done specifically. Fourth point is to have a sustainable investment policy, which is a continuous commitment to invest and maintain the security and maintenance budgets of our road assets. The economic development of our territories goes through a policy of investment, and we chose to have an investment plan of 140 million a year, euros a year, up to 2020. So here in the metropolis, we are doing exactly the contrary of what is taking place in other places, because the budget is decreasing from the state. But we have chosen to move forward and to have a very high investment, higher than before. The quality of our network is essential for our territory development, so we'll have 70,000 million euros invested. Let me give you a few examples in the metropolis. For example, in Oron or in Bosson, or on the coastline in Cagnes-sur-Mer. So I wish you, ladies and gentlemen, to have a very fruitful work, interesting exchanges, so that we can focus on our common objective of preservation of the road assets, which is essential for all of us. Thank you for choosing the Nice Côte d'Azur metropolis, and I wish you a great Congress. Thank you. Thank you for this nice welcome. And we are very happy to be with you. Now we'll switch to English, probably. We are very international.
Welcome the 5 speakers who are going to present you some facts and to give you the lowdown on the stakes of the questions that we'll be talking about. So first of all, would you please welcome the president of PIARC, Claude van Roten. If you give him a big round of applause, thank you very much indeed. Thank you for being with us. Please come join us here. We are delighted to have with us the head of the Russian Federal Road Agency, Dobro Pazhalovach, Roman Starovoyt. Mr. Starovoyt, thank you very much for being here with us in Nice today. We are delighted to have the Secretary General of the International Transport Forum from South Korea, Young Tae Kim. Thank you very much for being with us here today. Also, all the way from Washington, the CEO of the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials, Mr. Bud Wright. Thank you too. And last but not least, from Japan, the Vice Minister for Engineering Affairs of the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transports and Tourism of Japan, Mr. Masafumi Mori. Thank you very much indeed. Arigato for being here with us today. Now, I think that you all, gentlemen, you have a timer I think you all have 15 minutes to do us a short presentation, and as you will see the time, at the end of the 15 minutes, you will eject, be disposed of from the stage. So if you could try and keep to time, thank you very much indeed. First of all, Claude van Roten, I'm sure we're all very interested to hear what you have to say. Which language will you be talking? You talk English, French? Which one? En français ou en anglais?
Flemish, if you want.
Flemish, hartelijk gedaan. Graag gedaan.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I just wanted indeed to warn the translators, they will be very angry on me, that I will jump from French to English, but not too quickly. So please don't be angry on me. Mesdames et messieurs, chers amis.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends,
Most welcome to this Congress here in France, in Nice. I had the pleasure to check the roads yesterday with a small car that I hired. Et j'ai emprunté la Grande Corniche.
and I went through the Grande Corniche, Petite Corniche, because I wanted to test the roads. And it's quite encouraging to see that the delegates are so numerous, probably more numerous than in 2015, which confirms the quality and the relevance of the program of the conference and its activities. First, we saw a small clip, and the question is, why such a congress? Well, accessibility and mobility is founded upon roads, which is the main and first asset and the first social network, as you tend to say in France. Yeah, I speak French, but I have an accent from the north. So roads are key to economic, social, and environmental development.
Cycling. I just want to say that I learned this morning that pavement somewhere is a wrong word. Pavement seems to be only sidewalks, and of course the Congress is more than the sidewalks of the roads, but the whole road, totally. And the roads where also public transport is riding, people are walking, and cyclists are cycling. L'entretien de ce patrimoine routier.
Maintaining this road network is a challenge.
Indeed, the proper management of their roads assets. How to plan servicing and maintenance work. What strategies to adopt, and how to mobilize suitable financing, and at least how to measure performance. In response, PIAC, that I represent here, has decided to provide everybody, with access to various tools. This includes numerous reports that you, many experts I know, are in the room, even if I don't see them with lights, but I know that they're here. Our new online manual on asset management, which is a treasure of knowledge suitable for all countries, whatever their level of development. And then also the HDM4 software developed in collaboration with financial institutions such as the World Bank. Come and visit us on the exhibition. We have a booth here. Why do we support this summit? On a topic like this, all political, financial, organizational, or technical points of view are necessary because they complement one another. This is why PIAC is happy to support this Congress, just as we supported the first summit in 2015. And as it always has been said, this is a meeting place. More generally, and if you allow me to be blunt, international exchanges are a necessity, now more than ever. They are a cost-efficient and effective way to reach our objectives by identifying knowledge and tools that have been developed already. Being involved in organizations such as PIAC and in events such as this summit is the best way to learn from others and to promote our best practice. Why PIAC? If I should know. The World Road Association, of which I am the president, is quite familiar with summits and conferences. After all, we started ourselves with the first ever World Road Congress held in 1908. Yes, 100 years ago, here in France. We now expanded to organize technical exchanges between more than 1,200 experts over more than 20 committees. We publish reports, organize congresses and seminars all over the world. We facilitate formal and informal networking in order to meet the expectations and requirements of administrations and road operators. PIAC has the image of being aimed at governments alone. It is true that road and transport administrations hold a leading role in our association. However, be assured that we do welcome our colleagues from the private sector. I would even say that the public sector must work hand in hand with its private sector partners, as we do in PIAC, all within the wide family of road and transport, and as we are going to do here for 3 days in Nice. Pourquoi la France?
Why France? PIAC supports PPRS, especially because it's held in France, and France is a country which matters a lot for our association. Your language, because it's not really mine, is one of the working language of our association. Experts in general and French experts take part in our activities, and they ensure steering functions, which is profitable for everyone, because for the mobility sessions should be known all over the world. PIAC is a great way to share knowledge, and I'd like to congratulate my friend André Breteau, who is the president of the French committee of our association and helps us in our debates and creates a very interesting link between private and public sector. Moreover, I'd like to say that we are thankful because France is welcoming us, and the Ministry of Ecological Transition provides rooms, General Secretary and a Vice General Secretary. So I wish to thank Mr. General Director for this great support to our association.
The national best practice will be enabled, and that once again, this will bring about performance and efficiency gains that will benefit speakers and participants. Messieurs, dames, faisons de ce congrès.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's make this Congress a great event, as sunny as and shining as the weather we have outside. Let's enjoy this wonderful place. In fact, I enjoyed this weather in the last 2 days. It might be, you might notice that on my forehead. Have a nice Congress. Thank you very much. Thanks, Claude van Roeten.
I'm sure Badr Wright will agree with me that Britain and America are divided by a common language, and pavement for a British person normally means what you would call the sidewalk. I think it's what the French call the trottoir in usual English usage, but obviously not in the context of this meeting here today. We are delighted to have with us from Russia, Roman Starovoyt. I think that you would like to give us a few introductory words, hopefully not in Russian because everybody will panic and we don't have the translation, but I think probably in English as you were listening. In English, thank you.
Bonjour, good morning, доброе утро всем, dear colleagues and participants of the summit. First of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak at the opening session and to greet all of you on behalf of the Federal Road Agency and the Ministry of Transport of the Russian Federation. Roads in Russia run through different climatic zones and distance a variety of difficulties and danger of nature. Questions that will be discussed during this summit are therefore of great interest and importance for the road engineers and builders of Russia. The total length of motorways across the Russian Federation is 1.5 million kilometers, and the Federal Road Agency is responsible for the operational control of the 50,000 kilometers of the federal highways, which are key transport arteries of our country. Within the last 10 years, Rosavtodor has implemented a number of important projects. More than 2,000 kilometers of new roads built. During this time, the percentage of roads that comply with existing regulatory requirements has been increased from 39 to 78%. The total amount spent from federal budget in this year for federal roads is approximately $9.5 billion, and each year this number is increasing. We have also designed and built various road objects of the APEC summit in 2012 and the 2014 Winter Olympics in Sochi. The transport infrastructure for the upcoming this year FIFA World Cup has already been complete. I would like to invite you guys to visit World Cup to make sure. Our primary goals today are to adopt new intervals between repairs, and our target now 12 years. Establish innovative ways in management and operation of infrastructure objects to achieve new levels of motorway maintenance, to provide a traffic safety and very high level to enhance the effectiveness of road repair and construction, and to optimize our expense. We are constantly adopt new and innovative technologies in road construction, and also trying to use materials products within the Russian Federation. We will launch of first self-driving cars of Russian federal roads in this year. At this time, Russian road builders and engineers have a huge experience in research, construction, and maintenance of roads in different climatic zones and weather conditions. However, we are making progress and we are ready to learn from the experience of our colleagues. In my opinion, this event is a perfect place to exchange to experience and to explore new engineering and management solutions. I wish all of us fruitful and productive time. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much indeed, Roman Starovoyt, and thank you for your invitation. I'm sure we'll be very happy to come to Russia on our way to see France winning the World Cup then. Next to speak, we are, because I've become French, now I used to be British, but now I'm French, so allez les bleus. It's now my pleasure to ask Young Tae Kim, you're the Secretary General of International Transport Forum, South Korea, to make a few words of welcome. Round of applause. Thank you.
안녕하세요. C'est coréen. Enchanté. Bonjour.
Good morning, I'm Korean. I'm trying to remember my French, which has been long forgotten, but my presentation will be done in English. It is an honor for me to be in front of you, such a wonderful public. I'll do my presentation in English nonetheless. Unfortunately, it doesn't open.
Okay, thank you again. Good to see you, and good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. I'm the Secretary General of the International Transport Forum, and I started my work last August after the big election at the Leipzig summit. So I'm very happy to be here. And today I'm going to talk about the multidimensional aspect of road maintenance based on my experience of working in the Ministry of Transport in Korea. And I got involved in a lot of international projects concerning different sectors of transport. So I hope to share a lot of useful information with you. And I tried to understand the concept of maintenance, the traditional definition. Then I concluded that for the time being, it's keep functioning, so keep moving in a regular situation, in a normal situation, without any disruption and problems. But I look up the etymological dictionary, and it came from the French word maintenir, signifying that that means hand, and tenir means hold. So holding something with hand. So it can be easily understood if we see the roots of the word. That also comes from the Latin word manu and tenere. And I also look up the Wikipedia, the famous cyber dictionary today, and there are several definitions like condition-based maintenance and corrective maintenance, planned maintenance, and predictive maintenance. Everything is not mutually exclusive. There are some overlaps and some links between all those different definitions, so you can just consult the definitions. And we analyzed the basic trends of the investment for the maintenance in European Union, European Commissions. And when public budgets are tight, maintenance tends to be cut. But I think it's totally normal. But this is not the case in advanced nations. If we see the case of developing countries as well, because they do not have enough budget, so they always have to make a choice between the constructing new infrastructure or investing money for the existing infrastructure. So that's a kind of trade-off, the relationship. If we see the graph on the screen, if we compare the 2009 figure and the current tendency that continues even today, we can conclude that the investment for maintenance has not grown. So it's rather the diminishing, influenced by the economic context of the countries. So I prepared a small the image that always there are some juggling between construction and maintenance. It was also the case in Korea. When I was working in the Ministry of Transport in Korea, also we fought with our colleagues working in the different division, even though we belong to the same boss and the same minister, same vice minister. Always there are some the discussions, very sometimes furious discussions about the distribution of budget. Even the transport sector, railway sector, the shipping industry and aviation and road especially, there are always the struggling between the spending money for the constructing new things and maintaining existing things. And sometimes in a developing country, we see the political influence on road sector, because a lot of the deputies at the parliamentary level, they try to construct some road infrastructure in their areas, because it's one of the most visible performance for them. So sometimes in the remote area, even though we don't think the road construction is necessary, sometimes it happens. So this is, I think, purely the political choice, because budgetary process is more or less political, the process. But maintenance, if we stick to the traditional definition of maintenance, basically it's not easy to have new things. But if we think a little bit differently, thinking about the current trend, today's the keywords in the transport sector, we can define the maintenance from a different angle and from a different perspective. So I would like to propose you the main keywords in the transport sector, as you see on the screen. And first one is environmental sustainability, which is really a hot issue today, and also smart digital technology that has a great impact on everyday life. And safety and security is always very important, especially today, because usually we compare two different notions, safety and security. Safety means a malfunction and something going wrong in itself, with some technical problems and etc. And security means something made by the threats coming from outside, like terrorism and some aggressive attacks on the infrastructure facilities. So for your information, the theme of the year for the Leipzig Summit of ITF this year is safety and security. So, and the fourth item is inclusiveness. More and more we are becoming interested in the social aspect of transport. At the beginning, the transport was regarded as a kind of the technical thing. The transport means the moving something from one point to another. But we these days are trying to find some extra meanings. We try to go beyond the concept of transport. So we try to see the economic aspect and social aspect and technological aspect, and also some safety aspect, etc. And the final thing is also traditionally the valued economic growth. So we can say now the maintenance projects is related to all those important, the values of the transport today. And if you consider that these factors are really important, then we can interpret maintenance in a different way that can obviously justify the investment, the money coming from the central government and local government, and even in cooperation with the private investors. The improvement in the transport sector is largely attributable to technological development, and especially in digital sector. But nowadays we are more or less fascinated by the new things that we discover every day in a technological perspective. But I always emphasize that technological development is not an end itself. It can be a tool for achieve something more than the technological aspect itself. So if we compare the transport in the past and transport of today, we can categorize several attributes in this chart. So in the past, we more or less focused on the modal aspect: transport, train, ship, airplane, and road, car, and etc. But these days, we focus more multimodal and intermodal aspect. And traditionally, the transport was kind of supply-driven. So the providers, they decide the routes, and they decide the level of services. Then the customers, they decide to take it or not. But these days, it's becoming the demand-driven. So with the applications on the cell phone, you create the routes for even bus, and you can enjoy the shared mobility. Uberization sometimes has some different meanings, but it reflects the development of the technologies. And traditionally, the transport in the past was the government-led, but these days we try to involve the private actors using the skills of private-public partnership and something like that. And hardware was emphasized in the past, but software is gaining more ground these days. And a clear identity of the sector is a modal aspect, and now is a multi-dimensional and conventional and manual, but now automation. So it's very simple, but we just have to remind that things are really happening in different ways compared to the previous period. And even in terms of the regulation for government policymakers, we are observing the great change, transformation of analog into digital. So even in the world of regulation, data on driving and driver for safety and security, and financial and payment data for fiscal control, and location data for congestion and traffic flow and competition policy and etc. So we can get a lot of information from the new technologies, but the road and infrastructure and the maintenance issues are all involved in this, the big data, the linked aspect. So now we have to think that the paradigm is really shifting from one point to another. So now we have to say that new dimensions of road maintenance are the rising. So traditional concept, if I remind you once again, that was more or less technical and economic and status quo, analog, but now we have to adopt new concepts, social, environment, prospective, evolutionary upgrading for adaptation, digital. So if you consider those new concepts in relation to maintenance, the projects, the reflection level can be also upgraded. And new approach for road maintenance, I made some simplification on this chart. And if I make some connection between the 5 keywords that I presented a few minutes ago with the actual items that we can discover every day, is in the environment sector, we can also think about eco-friendly materials, the replacement of the existing materials with eco-friendly materials, and real-time air quality info, because it's really important in certain countries like even Korea, which is becoming a big problem. And digitalization is linked to autonomous vehicle and big data and connected system and decongestion. So if we put some new technologies into the maintenance area, we can also benefit from that investment. And in terms of safety and security, we can also expect some reduction of fatalities, and enforcement and resilience is really important. And inclusion, which is social aspects, and we can think about universal access. But to make this happen, we have to have a well-structured the road maintenance and road infrastructure as well. And equitable, the fare collection system is also feasible if we use the right tool. And in terms of economy, and we can also create a job and contribute to macroeconomic as well. So, in conclusion, a new holistic approach based on the new perception is necessary, and maintenance is as important as construction. And maintenance has more than its literally meaning. So that's my the conclusion. And I give you some small information about ITF. ITF is an interactive platform composed of 59 member countries today. So it's like a platform where people get together to exchange information and discuss a lot of things and to share the experiences, etc. So basically, we do a long-term the project like digital, the project, which is focused on shared mobility, and sustainable projects focusing on green transport, and social project focusing on universal accessibility. So this year, as I already told you, in May 23rd to 25th in Leipzig, always in Leipzig, and we will have the summit. The ministers from 59 countries, member countries, will gather to discuss a lot of issues on safety and security. But next year, it will be a connectivity. It's a connectivity, regional connectivity and modal connectivity, a lot of connectivity. So we are now doing a lot of research work and roundtable, working group, and country-specific policy analysis. And we have also the private sector, the members, so-called the CPB, the Corporate Partnership Board. So 28 the companies are joining right now. So we try to combine a lot of things. So I have only 1 minute and to be continued for the detailed conversation about the maintenance and etc. ITF is still present, not only today and tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. So tomorrow, Steve Perkins, which is the head of the research, the unit from ITF, and the Dehan Markovsek, which is a great experience of investment for infrastructure, will be present during the morning session. And on the following day, the Veronique Feuer, which is a road safety expert from ITF, will be also meet you discussing the road safety issues. So thank you for your attention, and I stop here. Merci beaucoup pour votre attention.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Jung Tai Kim. I think it was Frédéric Beauchef who was talking a few minutes ago about popular songs. Well, I think that one country who's inspired, whose roads have inspired so many country songs, Route 66 and so forth. So I'm sure we're delighted to hear how things are going in the States. Bud Wright, you're the CEO of the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials. Could you give us the lowdown on the situation in the USA?
Thank you very much, Alex. And no, I won't be singing any country songs, but I will try to tell you a little bit about what's going on in the United States. Bonjour, buenos dias, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here to speak with all of you about pressing topics facing transportation agencies and transportation interests around the world. It's indeed an honor to stand before you representing the United States at this important gathering of world transportation leaders. An event such as this provides a unique opportunity for us to share information and experiences and learn from one another, two objectives that are at the very heart of the mission of all of us as transportation service providers. As an international community of transportation interests, we share many of the same values. One, we have an intense focus on helping people and goods move through our transportation systems. Secondly, we have a concern for safety of the people using our transportation systems, as well as the people who are working to build and to maintain our systems. We have a desire to look to technology and innovation for the tools and strategies to help us improve mobility, safety, and reliability. And finally, we have a duty to use scarce resources wisely and ensure we are maximizing the life of the facilities in which we have invested. These values shape our decision-making and drive policy in the United States and around the world. We consistently see a similar pattern: people, economy, technology that leads to innovation. That's the view from our side as the builders, maintainers, and administrators of transportation systems. We study and research and invest our careers in improving mobility and safety. But what about the view from our customers, the users of the system? How do they feel about the state of transportation today? I think it's fair to say that transportation matters more in today's world than ever before. In a global economy with services such as Amazon's same-day service delivery of goods, the seamless movement of people and goods is not just a matter of convenience, it is an economic imperative. And for the most part, the system works well. But in the United States, we find that most people take our transportation system and its operation for granted. They don't understand or give much thought to the fact or the path that an iPhone takes from a factory in Asia to someone's home in the United States. Or consider that US grocery stores, which literally feature foods produced around the world, would not exist without a robust transportation system. The shelves would look very different, and our economy would look very different. Take just about any industry in your country or mine, and you will easily find a compelling story of how transportation network played a key role in its success. Yet people assume that the roads and bridges they depend on will always be available and in good working condition. We, those of us who work to make our transportation system better, do not have that luxury. So what are the challenges that we face? One of the principal challenges that we face in the United States is an aging workforce, whether it be in transportation or in other sectors. As our generation of baby boomers age and are being replaced by our youngest generation of millennials. My association's State Department of Transportation leaders are increasingly investing resources in recruiting, training, and retaining a workforce that understands the role transportation plays in our lives. As our older generation are replaced by younger workers, we must consider how to transfer valuable knowledge. We must understand the diversity of backgrounds, and we must find creative thinkers who also seek to find solutions to problems that incorporate a multimodal view of our transportation system. After all, our objective is to provide seamless mobility. Creatively addressing the needs of a modern transportation system will require us to think beyond our borders, and I'm not just referring to the borders that separate countries and states. Those are indeed borders, and it is through summits such as this one where we can share ideas and collaborate over policies and innovation that we're able to overcome those barriers. But I'm also thinking about mobility innovations such as automated vehicles. Automakers and software companies are working hard to deploy vehicles that rely less on drivers and more on the computers and sensing devices built into vehicles. There is not a doubt that automated vehicles are game changers, and they bring massive implications for transportation agencies that go far beyond the immediate concern of maintenance paving, striping, and bridge repair. If individuals no longer have to grip a steering wheel, they may not understand some of the unique challenges of road operation and maintenance. They may lose their patience for delays due to paving or bridge repairs. For us to truly anticipate and support the deployment of emerging technologies such as automated vehicles and apply that technology to our preservation and asset maintenance programs, we must build collaboration and coalitions beyond our agency borders to engage vehicle manufacturers, software engineers, freight industries, planning organizations, and energy experts. Ultimately, this new transportation coalition will need to face one of the most significant continuing challenges for all transportation agencies around the world, and that is inadequate funding. In the United States, and I'm sure in most countries around the world it's no different, we do not have a clear consensus on how to fund a national transportation system that eventually will no longer depend on gasoline taxes as a primary funding source. Will we see travel on our roadways increase as automated vehicles move into the marketplace? Will people find travel so seamless and easy that they move even farther from urban centers and their jobs? Or if they move farther from their jobs, will the workforce of the future find it more productive to work from home, potentially decreasing how much we use automobiles? There's much we do not know about what is ahead of us, but we can be sure that whatever is ahead will affect the way in which we fund our national transportation system in the United States. No doubt, addressing the long-term needs of our national transportation infrastructure will require a broad discussion among an evolving coalition of interests. While we anticipate the future and the influence of new technologies, there is another trend common among U.S. state departments of transportation. That is, state DOTs are directing their energy and efforts toward maintaining the existing system and operating that system as efficiently as possible. The era of solely focusing or largely focusing on roadway construction is over in the United States. We have entered the era of asset management and system operation. We have realized that it no longer makes sense economically or otherwise to try to build our way out of congestion. The cost for new roads is growing. Construction on new alignment can take many years to earn approval just from the local community environmental oversight agencies. Meanwhile, we have an aging infrastructure that is requiring more and more attention to keep roads and bridges in good working order. According to the American Road and Transportation Builders Association in its annual U.S. Bridge Conditions Report, nearly 9% of U.S.'s roughly 612,000 bridges, that is more than 54,000 bridges, are rated structurally deficient. That doesn't mean that they're unsafe to the traveling public. Of course, our states and local agencies would close a bridge if it was unsafe to cross, but this term structurally deficient means that there is some part of the bridge that is in need of maintenance or repair. And if we think about it, we should not be surprised that we have so many structurally deficient bridges. The average age of these structurally deficient structures is 67 years. The average age of non-structurally deficient bridges in the United States is 40 years. That's only our bridges. Our state DOTs are also struggling to keep up with general road conditions as well. The 2015 AASHTO Transportation Bottom Line Report found that the current backlog in needed road, highway, and bridge improvements is $740 billion US. According to the Road Information Program, or TRIP as it's called in the United States, it's a National Transportation Research Group, 44% of the U.S.'s major roads are in poor or mediocre condition. Meanwhile, driving on these roads in need of repair in the United States costs motorists $120 billion a year in extra vehicle repair and operating costs, more than $550 per motorist annually. So while our systems age and we struggle with funding, the average U.S. motorist, and the overall U.S. economy for that matter, is paying higher costs in repair bills, detours, and inefficiencies. Our state DOT leaders understand this, and their focus is increasingly on developing techniques for addressing maintenance backlogs and operating the system most efficiently. Let me define a couple of terms that we are using in the U.S. Performance management is concerned with all areas of transportation system performance, including overall policy goals and objectives, multimodalism, and how a transportation agency is performing asset management. Asset management is concerned with management of transportation physical assets, basically determining how can we maintain the system with the lowest life cycle cost. And this is what state DOTs have embraced, a pavement preservation strategy that is intended to extend the service life of roads as long as possible. Two major strategies include the use of chip sealing and microsurfacing. More than 80% of the state DOTs recently surveyed said they were using chip seals on their state highway systems, the major roads typically in the states, and 70% of the states surveyed reported using microsurfacing on their pavements. Another technique, the application of fog seal, has increased nationally, as have preservation treatments for concrete pavements. States are using diamond grinding to smooth concrete and improve the vehicle's ride quality, as well as joint repairing, full and partial depth patching, and dowel bar retrofit projects to extend the surface life of concrete roadways. The approach to bridge preservation is similar, with states developing plans to maintain their bridges well past their original design lives. And in addition to bridge painting, which most states have done for many years, states are also sealing bridge decks to reduce the need for deck replacement and to reduce damage from water and salt. U.S. implementation of asset management and performance management has presented our states with several lessons learned. One, increased coordination with local metropolitan planning organizations is required in setting goals and targets to assure that the performance of the entire system, not just those higher order state DOT maintained portions of the system, is maintained at the required levels. As many states have moved from an expansion mode to a maintaining mode, they have realized that the state's 10-year financial plans must connect the transportation improvement programs in local areas to the agency's maintenance, preservation, and operations budgets. And in order to succeed with the 10-year financial plan, most states have learned that they must include preservation while the pavement is still sound to fully extend the pavement service life. That is the case for bridges as well. Preservation must begin while structures are still in good working order. Finally, we have learned that advanced pavement preservation methods can be applied to even high-volume roadways. Through technologies that include polymer-modified emulsions, lightweight aggregates, and rubber-modified chip seals, states are able to address maintenance concerns on even our most heavily traveled routes. So let me close by saying our states have sought to address issues of preserving and maintaining our system because we know that public expectations have shifted. Remember when I said that the public takes our transportation system for granted? Unlike even 20 years ago, the public and the free flow of commerce depends on a robust and dependable roadway network. In the United States, we have been unable to come to consensus on how to pay for our ongoing maintenance and upgrade needs, so it is very likely that we're going to find that it is increasingly difficult to meet the public's expectations for a long-lasting, smooth roadway experience. The only way we can mitigate those expectations is to make the work we do to maintain our roads and bridges as easy to understand and as transparent as possible. Through the use of innovative technologies and performance reporting, we can exhibit a sense of accountability for the resources we expend and the strategies we deploy. Transportation has always mattered. We have always wanted to improve the ways in which people and goods move through our transportation system. Our shared values of mobility and safety and the deployment of new technologies has always been the storyline for people like those of us in this room. So I want to thank you again for the opportunity to be here today. I wish you much success in this Pavement Preservation and Recycling Summit, and I hope that each of you will take advantage of the worldwide expertise gathered here this week to learn about strategies that you can take back and implement in your own countries. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Bud Wright, for that assessment of the state and some quite surprising statistics about the cost to individual drivers of the state of repair of some roads. We're delighted to have now from Japan, Masafumi Mori, the Vice Minister for Engineering Affairs at the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport and Tourism. So I think you have a presentation to give to us. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you.
My name is Masafumi Mori, and the Vice Minister for Engineering Affairs, the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism of Japan. Presentation there. Thank you, moderator. I'm glad to make speech at today's opening session. Today, I'd like to introduce some effort we have done in order to maximize performance of the existing infrastructure functions and to heighten its additional value responding to the regional needs. In addition, I'd like to introduce various measures in order to improve productivity in the construction industry field. We say I-construction. I prepared some material for today's presentation, and please, I would like to start the slide. Firstly, utilization of ETC 2.0 in Japan. ETC 2.0 is a system to use bi-direction wireless communication between approximately 1,600 communication spots that are installed along the National Expressway and on board unit. Optimal route guidance based on wide area condition information and toll-by-route pricing that cooperate with the car navigation system is ensured. Effort to reduce traffic congestion and accident are promoted by using ETC 2.0, which enable diversified services, such as leading the large-sized car with large impact on road structure to appropriate route. Even when you temporarily exit the expressway and then re-enter, in case of accident or disaster, you are only charged the amount without exiting the expressway. Secondly, a functional enhancement of the metropolitan area airport. We engage in the smart use of the existing infrastructure, such as revising the navigation route to Tokyo International Haneda Airport to reinforce Japan's international competitiveness. In the result, international flights will increase from about 80 per day to about 130 per day by 2020 through flight route change. Thirdly, further expansion of Japan's capacity to accept cruise ships. Japan aims to grow Northeast Asia into a global cruising destination like that of the Caribbean Sea and activate regional economies by developing local ports into exciting destinations for all types of cruise ships. In order to achieve this aim, we work on urgent upgrading of terminal facility specification, a creation of international cruise bases by public-private partnership. Now I'd like to move on to the main subject. As to construction industry, in 2013, the number of workers over 55 years old increased up to 34%, and the number of workers under 29 years old decreased down to 10%. However, the construction industry is responsible for the development of social capital, while also serving as the region guardian, essential for our national land conservation, ensuring that the safety and the security of our society. Even while decrease and aging in population progress, work style reform, including increase in wage level and days off as well as productivity, is critical in the critical in the construction industry to serve this role. Aiming to enhance productivity, MLIT is tackling I-construction, fully utilize the innovation technologies such as ICT for all processes of site works, including survey, design, construction, inspection, maintenance, and renewal. By I-construction, we will be able to realize the same public investment by fewer number of people in fewer days and with improved productivity of work site of 20% by 2025. As one of the I-construction, we tackle utilization of ICT in earthwork, so-called ICT earthwork. Conventionally, in measure and survey, we use measuring instrument. In ICT earthwork, we carry out the three-dimensional measure and the survey in a short period of time from multiple sites by taking picture with the drone and others. In design and construction plan, we calculate the earthwork soil volume based on the drawing. Concretely, soil volume for the construction is calculated by average cross-section method. In ICT earthwork, we calculate the execution quantity, a cutting and land elevation volume based on the difference between the three-dimension measure data, current topography, and the design drawing. In execution of work, we install finishing the stake according to the drawing, carry out the work in line with the finishing stakes, and the shape of repeating inspection, measurement, and execution of work. In ICT earthwork, we automatically control ICT construction machine using the three-dimension design data and others, and carry out the work. In inspection, we measure the height, width, and length of main cross-section and use document. In ICT earthwork document for the complete construction part will become unnecessary due to inspection on personal computer through three-dimension measurement using drone and other means, and inspection item will be reduced by half. In 2016 fiscal year, the number of ICT earthwork sites is about 600, and in 2017, the number of ICT works sites is expected to over 800. By ICT earthwork, we saw that the effect on total day of earthwork between ICT earthwork and conventional method from measurement at the start of construction of final inspection are reduced by an average of about 28%. Here, I would like to introduce of expansion of ICT work type, the paving work well. In addition, ICT earthwork, we tackle utilization of ICT in paving work in so-called ICT paving. We carry out the three-dimension measurement and survey by laser scanners. In design and construction plan, we calculate execution quantity based on the difference between three-dimension design data and the measurement result. In execution of work, we automatically control ICT construction machines utilizing three-dimension design data. In inspection, we carry out the inspection on personal computer by utilizing data from laser scanner and others. Next, I'd like the introduction of the ICT to the works of a bridge, I-bridge. We also tackle utilization of ICT in bridge construction as trial so-called ICT bridge. In design and construction planning, we automatically compute quantity, avoid interference by 3D design, and we carry out the construction planning based on overhead wiring information. In manufacturing and construction site, we carry out automatic cutting by machine, cutting, welding, provision, assembling, enhancing safety by utilizing ICT. Also, we maintain bridges efficiently by utilizing sensors. In addition, we have formed a construction promotion consortium by industry, academia, government collaboration to promote innovation technologies at construction site and utilize 3D data and find matching between need construction site and the seed of technologies. Thank you for your kind attention. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much indeed. It's very interesting to see the technological advances from Japan. Thank you for going into those details. If I can just ask you one or two quick questions, Mr. Mori, about what you've just said. In order to renovate productivity, can you tell us what other efforts are made in Japan? In the microphone, if you could take this microphone so that we can hear what you say. Can you tell us about some of the other efforts which are made at the moment to renovate productivity? I think you have some interesting examples.
And previously, ICT paving utilizing automatically controlled motor glider is tackled only in the newly established pavement site. In next fiscal year, also in pavement maintenance site, using cutting overlay method, we tackled to use automatically controlled ICT pavement cutting machine as trial.
If I just to conclude, if I could ask you, how would you define the strong element of what Japan has to offer to improve maintenance? What would you say was the strong element?
And the cutting overlay is the typical construction method of pavement maintenance. And but cutting material of existing pavement is generated from the site to which this construction method is applied. In Japan, the recycling rate of cutting material is extremely high, as 90.5%, and environmental friendly construction site is achieved. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you to all of you. I just want to ask a few questions. You've been listening, Claude van Rooten, to the other speakers. To what extent would you say that each country has its own different problems, and to what extent is this becoming a truly international industry? If you could tell us about that. Speak in it, it's fine.
I try, yes. Thank you. Well, I think the presentations we just got now show that there are progresses in different countries, the whole world. Unfortunately, perhaps we cannot represent the 120 countries we have in our association, and the differences are tremendous sometimes. The preoccupations, however, there are many common points: the budget, the maintenance, the social aspects. And I think I liked one of the slides of Mr. King, is the slide where you saw the traditional topics we had till now, and he showed the other topics which are coming, but they are not suppressing the left side of the slide. So we need still techniques, we need some asphalt, pavements, and so on. We still need them, but the world has changed about how to manage and the traffic, for example, who to manage the accidents, who to try to increase the capacity. We have other models of financing, and all those aspects are added. And we must be multidisciplinary. Otherwise, we cannot solve the problems. So I hope we need, furthermore, civil engineers like I am, but we need other people too.
Bud, can I ask you, you were listening to the other speakers, to what extent do you think that we as citizens ought to be more involved in asking for these kind of transformations and innovations so that we as users can benefit from better roads generally? Do you think that we as the Americans, for example, are they becoming more aware of the innovations in the industry and the need to change?
I think there is certainly a greater awareness. One of the things that many of the agencies in the United States are emphasizing is transparency in their operations. They want the public to be engaged. They want the public to know what they're doing and why they're doing it. And so by providing that kind of information, by making data accessible, by putting scorecards, if you will, on their performance in various areas, the public has become more aware, and I think as states perform effectively, the public becomes more supportive of the efforts of transport agencies. So, you know, at a time in the past when much of what was done was kind of in the black box, if you will, I think today you're finding in the United States that agencies want the public to understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. and by extension, that therefore provides that support that they need for going forward.
To what extent, any of you, would you say that the problem is financial, the problem is one of budgets, or is it a problem of technology, not being able to keep up with the needs of this changing society? To what extent is it, or is it a political problem of long-term politicians not being able to implement, as usual, long-term views? Any of you who wish to?
I will start by saying, at least in the United States, it's all of the above. Certainly, there are financial challenges in the infrastructure sector. We're competing as transportation interests with a lot of other needs, whether it be the installation of broadband technology or water infrastructure or other elements that are very much in need, maybe as much so as transportation. So financial is very much a part of the consideration. I think technology is helping us in solving some of those problems, but it also introduces new challenges because we have to develop the expertise to bring that new technology to the market. So it's all of the above, really, I think, at least in the United States.
Yes, is it to what extent do you think it's a political problem too? Because obviously politicians are usually there for 3-4 years and then they change, so they don't have these long-term views. Is this the same everywhere, do you think? Maybe, yes?
Yeah, I think it's almost a similar phenomenon in every countries. But the important thing to know is that now we are becoming more and more aware of the possibility of collaboration. I mean the horizontal collaborations, because in the past, the investment for infrastructure, creating infrastructure and maintaining infrastructure is another thing. And also, even in the government, between ministries, there were some kind of sectionalism because I don't care about other aspects, I don't care about this aspect. But now, thanks to the technological development, we see a kind of a facilitation of the kind of horizontal collaboration in the government. And of course, there can be some differences of level in developing the infrastructure in every country, but finally we can combine from the start, even for the developing countries, thinking about the possible combination of the technological aspect and social aspect, and so I think it's a good moment to talk more about this kind of possible collaboration.
Claude van Orden, to what extent is international benchmarking becoming more important? Obviously, here in Nice, we have an international meeting today, and lots of different experiences will be shared. How would you say that different countries are learning from the experiences in terms of innovation, technology, and also general attitudes towards road repair?
Is it? Yeah, sorry. I'm always afraid of the word benchmarking when it's only the economical point of view. I mean, the benchmarking, what I would call benchmarking, is such a congress where you have exchanges between people. I fully support the idea technology helps us, but I think we need some minds, some people trying not to compete only, but to work together. And we have different roles in the society. We have here researchers. I know that we have producers. We have people of ministries. We have contractors. Let's learn from each other. And indeed, about the countries, we have all different cultures. Sometimes we do not accept what somebody else is doing, but just try to be more and more open. And my impression, because I am an optimist, well, I think the world is going open for that. Of course, for the most people, I will try to say that so. But I think there is a wish now to collaborate more and more. And this is, for me, a symbol. This Congress is exactly the goal.
Would you say that the PPP model is the only way to go? Is it, or are things changing? Because I host a lot of these conventions, and everybody says government, now PPP. Where are we heading?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm careful, PPP is, of course, a model we need, and investment of private sector. But does it mean investment of private sector that you go to the last level, namely public-private partnership, in the sense of a big contract, sometimes very complicated, and where not the engineers but the lawyers are going to earn more money than the contractors? I think there are other models than only public-private partnership in the sense of that contract, but in the sense of working together, no doubt about it. We need, I take always, that's my last remark about that, we need input of innovations, and mostly the innovations come from the private sector. And we have to encourage them.
Maybe just to finish, Bud, a word on PPPs. Obviously interesting to have an American point of view on that.
Well, we would certainly say that there is a role for public-private partnerships in the provision of transportation services, but I would certainly not in any way suggest that that will overtake the role of the public sector. We're dealing often with public goods. We know that the private sector, as they enter into this enterprise, are looking for a return on their investment. At least in the United States, many of the roadways that we have to service don't provide that opportunity for a return on investment because the traffic volumes are not sufficient for tolling or other typical PPP approaches. So yes, it should be a part of the equation. It's something that's important, I think, as we move forward, but I certainly don't think that that's the only solution for the future.
Thank you. So some very interesting points. Thank you for your presentations and for answering my questions at the end. Thank you very much indeed. Merci beaucoup. Donc des applaudissements pour tous nos intervenants de cette...
Thank you for applauding our speakers.
Please feel free to take back your chairs. We are delighted now to finish the morning. As the President said, unfortunately, the Minister for Transports in France, with a very heavy news agenda at the moment, can't be with us, but we are delighted to have the General Director of the Directorate General for Infrastructure, Transport and the Sea, donc on va passer en français, la Direction Générale des Infrastructures des
General Direction of Infrastructure and the Sea and Transportation is here. Mr. François Poupard would like to say a few words.
Monsieur le Ministre.
Dear Minister, dear General Directors, dear President of FTP, President of CIRF, dear Louis Nègre, ladies and gentlemen, I am happy to be among you today. I would like to apologize for the absence of Elisabeth Borne, who's the French Minister of Transports. As you well know, this is the trains are a hot potato right now, and there are a lot of strikes being threatened. I'm happy to be in Nice for this opening ceremony for the second Pprs Congress with the best experts who came to share their convictions that road assets are important. We have a lot of roads in France, 21,000 kilometers of roads and highways, 400,000 departmental routes, 600,000 kilometers of local roads. We have more than 1 million kilometers of roads all in all, which is the first in Europe. There may be franchised or non-franchised, but that's 1/3 of the traffic. One out of 3 Frenchmen uses these 2% of roads. We know that they are the most important ones with a lot of engineering structures, urban roads, franchised or non-franchised roads like in Nice actually, but also urban networks or non-urban networks. On the road, 85% of transports are being made of people or goods. That's the pillar of the whole social cohesion and economic cohesion of the country. We actually earmark significant investment to those, may it be for franchised, non-franchised roads, under the aegis of my general directorate. That accounts for 130 million euros of investment. It's the first public asset. To answer the challenges ahead of our citizens, we decided to give priority to maintenance, and especially highway and road maintenance. Last October, we committed for a large amount of money to carry out works and to have a guideline text of law that will be submitted to the Council of Ministers beginning of May for first reading before the Parliament before May. This bill will talk about all aspects of mobility, and for the first time in France, we have a first title, Progression of Investments in Terms of Infrastructure. It's a first. Other countries have done so, in Germany, for instance, but the first time that we have a list of infrastructures for the 20 years ahead, where we have something more detailed. And we can have a closed, exhaustive list of engineering structures that we need to invest in. This program has been the subject of long discussions with infrastructure guideline committees, which have drawn up different scenarios under the aegis of the government still. But the outcome will certainly be an average scenario, taking into consideration and having as a priority maintenance of roads and highways and engineering structures. No matter what happens, no matter the decisions made, there will be a financial basis that will be allocated to them in the 20 years to come for road maintenance and regeneration. This committee has set up also a unlocking plan for some cities which are landlocked. That shouldn't be too costly, but very useful for all average cities, so that they can actually be connected to an important main road of the country. In terms of regeneration, we talk about connected roads as well, smart vehicles, autonomous vehicles, the aim of which is to give to the road an important role as anticipated in terms of mobility for the years ahead of us. Investment is also the subject of a lot of reflection. We want to modernize financing tools, may it be for project companies. Capacities are offered to cities to have urban tolls and also operating plans, not only for engineering structures, but also for most of the road networks. This guideline text will focus on the fact that the road has a major role to play in the years to come. What is the problem? In a nutshell, our infrastructures were mostly built after the Second World War, but they are aging. Roads become more fragile, less robust, so we can have disruptions during our trips. Also, the sustainability of the bridges. This was usually initially designed and built for 100 years, and their obsolescence is thus scheduled because no maintenance is done. So we need to do something about it, otherwise we'll have a lot of ruins. It is therefore indispensable to deploy a regeneration plan for important road networks and engineering structures.
Sanctuariser des financements dans les contrats des concessions autoroutières.
We'll have road franchises. As you know, this is a place where operation investment is funded by user tolls. We try to do the same for national unfranchised roads. This will be the opportunity to offer financing methods for unfranchised roads and to develop our national road network. The minister has suggested to have a vignette for heavy goods vehicles. And this could be a source of financing based upon standard tariffs. No matter what financing the government chooses and the parliament chooses, resources constraints require from us, from technicians, from engineers, to justify in a clear manner, in a straightforward manner, that funding are inappropriate if that is the case, and what to do. If we need to have some arbitration, we need to do it with the best diagnosis methods, asset management methods, so as to have a good maintenance and regeneration plan for the long run. We have had an external audit from a foreign design office to dwell into the road network quality and to talk about mobility. This study helped the state to fine-tune its road network maintenance program until 2032, depending upon the budget methods that would be selected. It is methodology-based, and this weighs on all the methods that are being used throughout Europe in terms of asset management. This is an innovative approach on a 12,000-kilometer road with one bridge every kilometer. That allows us to understand and pinpoint the choices to make in terms of investment. This is a method that could be deployed for all types of network, and I recommend it to all asset managers in that field. The findings of that audit highlight the importance of developing an asset enhancement program and to have a right financial framework, because if we delay maintenance, then we have to pay the price in the end, and a higher price. Not only for next year do we have to do so, but also for the years to come, to have a better visibility at the scale of a life of a an engineered structure, namely 80 years, 100 years. We have to work with design officers, with engineers, technicians, to have a better asset management culture around the notions of maintenance, taking into account the life cycle of those structures, regeneration of their infrastructures and their conditions. The curve of obsolescence is a subject of a lot of technical discussions, but with this type of tool, we can discuss and have a vision over the midterm, how we can actually sustain our engineering structure, network, and road network. This also goes hand in hand with the matter of level of service. When we have an asset management vision, we need to have a discussion about level of service at every single level of our provision of services, for the infrastructures with dynamic operating systems, with reserved lanes. This is a way to have the road evolve in the most optimal manner. This reflection should also embark upon technological questions and issues such as connectivity, smart roads, but we can also talk about materials, about construction site techniques, about sensors, drones, image processing, everything that is being used by the engineers when doing and making roads. It is necessary to pursue reflection on technical solutions that would be cost-saving and sober as well, efficient. When we imagine new technologies, they need to reduce the bill for the local authorities or the road asset manager. We also need to privilege innovative materials like composite materials for bridges so that we can have bridge repairs at a lower cost so that we can make savings. Another important challenge is that of communication. Our main concern When we deal with road asset management, it is important for us as contractors, as client representatives. However, these concerns should go beyond the borders of our acquaintances. It is indispensable to make it understandable to everyone what we plan, what we want to do, so that the decision makers do not delay regeneration tools, because sometimes you don't see it right away, but after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, maybe that decision maker won't be there anymore, but will pay a higher price. We need to have an efficient communication campaign so that we don't have to pay the so-called gray debt. Also, road data opening could be a powerful factor of transparency and communication in France. Within the sector, we have shared the road asset data so as to involve users to have a better transparency on our national park and about also our maintenance policy. Challenges ahead of us are numerous. As I said earlier, in France, the road is the pillar of our whole economic activity. It is crucial. And yet, our structures are aging, and we shouldn't do the same as we have done with our train tracks, because then it could be too late. The structures need to live well the second era of their lives. I am sure that this Congress will be the subject of many debates. We'll find solutions that would be adapted, that would work, and I wish all of you successful debates and exchanges. Thank you for your attention.
Merci beaucoup, François.
Thank you, François Pprs. This is the end of our opening ceremony. I will see you for other roundtables and keynote speeches. Right now, you have the exhibition, so you can discover the exhibition, which will open with a breakfast cocktail on the 3rd floor. Then we'll have parallel sessions, and at 6:30 we'll have an opening cocktail offered by Colas on the 3rd floor.
And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you very much indeed.